Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's me, Concluded. Today we're doing my silly little what I watched. What I watched in AniMay. There's the title of the video. Here in my lap, I have my iPad. You know the drill. It's got my Annie list up. There's shit I watched in a month. Gonna talk about it, review it, recap, goon. To jump right in, this is something that I was putting off watching for a while. I don't remember when it aired, but I remember I saw something about it on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I like that idea. That's a cool idea. So I remember telling my gay boyfriend Andrew about it, that it's called The Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World. And I was like, it's some more isekai slop where a guy dies and then he wakes up in another dimension and then he has to live there now. But this time, the gimmick is that he is the Red Power Ranger, basically. So he gets like a power suit that's red because he's the Red Ranger and beats up big evil monsters and shit. And has like different paraphernalia of like lightsabers and mechs and shit like that. So I remember I was like thinking about checking it out, but then I told Andrew about it and he sounded like interested, and then we both started to watch it at the same time. I think he said he only watched a few episodes, and then I watched 4 episodes at like as they came out weekly, and then I fell off it because it was not very good. Like episode 1 and 2 were okay, and then episode 3 and 4 were bad. And then it came out like I think it was part of last season, so the winter season of anime. And then I was like, well, I'll throw it on. And then I watched it all in one night while I played fucking Deathmatch and Marvel Rivals. So, my attention was split. However, it still wasn't good. My score, I gave it a 4 out of 10 because, like episode 1 and 2, stick to the gimmick of, like, having him, the Red Ranger, I don't remember his name, it doesn't matter, like doing Red Ranger shit and then having the characters from the other dimension be like, oh, wow, that sure is silly. That's so goofy. He's such a little guy. When I remember there's a part in episode 2 where the main guy and his like first friend in the other world, I forget her name too, Big Booba Witch Girl, and they team up in a like 2 other adventurers are like, hey, you guys have small dicks. You can't clear this dungeon as fast as we can. But they were liars who like had done the dungeon before, so they were gonna like trick them. But then as soon as they go into the dungeon, Red Ranger's like, "All right, it's Red Ranger, it's morphin' time," and I think he instantly called in his mech and then like caused a cave in, but also caused the monsters of the cave to like roll up and start fuck with them. And the 2 goofballs were like, "Oh, we're fucked. We knew all the paths to avoid this thing, but now it's gonna touch us." So then Mr. Red Ranger is like, no, if we combine the powers of friendship, we can win this, which is basically the My Cat's Screaming Up a Storm classic. I love that. He was like, with friendship, we can win the day. Let's use my Red Ranger gun. And then he pulls out a gigantic energy cannon. And first they don't use it right because none of them are really friends. And then they're like, whoa, this guy... The 2 idiots were like, wow, this guy sure is gusto. We do trust him with our lives. And then it cuts to a shot of the 4 people, the Red Ranger, the Big Booba Witch Girl, and the 2 dudes holding the big cannon. And then they all scream out the like catchphrase of like, Red Ranger beam, go! And I'm like, why do they know to say that? And that part made me laugh. And then that's the end of episode 2, which then we cut to the rest of the season, which is like, forget about him being from another dimension, except if he has to like talk to someone who's down on their luck and be like, I remember in my own world when I would talk to the Blue Ranger and him and the Yellow Ranger got in a fight. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. And it's just Red Ranger and Big Booba Witch Girl like hunting down energy crystals. And it's frankly boring. Oh my god. The most interesting thing that happens after that is they go to another country in the isekai world, and there happens to be someone that also can like Red Ranger transform, but instead of having like the normal Red Ranger shit from his world, she turns into like a Sphinx cat robot lady. And that was cool, but she wasn't interesting, so I didn't care. And by the end of it, I was just kind of like, God, I hope this fucking ends soon. Which thankfully it's only 12 episodes. But I also I remember before I actually watched it, back when me and Andrew had only seen a few episodes. I was allegedly on a site I used to pirate manga, and I saw like Red Ranger in Another World new chapter, and it said like chapter 25, and I'm like, what the fuck? That means like everything that's in season 1 is like 90% of what exists of this series already. Like, that's crazy. They gave it an anime right away, which, hey, maybe in the next 10 chapters that haven't been animated, it's like really good. I doubt it. If it gets to season 2, I'm probably not gonna watch it. As a bonus, though, we got the Big Booba Witch Girl, which made my Twitter blow up. Like, that was pretty cool, with fan art and nothing else. Let's move on to the next thing that I watched in AniMay, which was Bleach: The Thousand Year Blood War, The Conflict, aka Bleach Part 3 of the new season. I remember when I was doing my anime list top 100. Well, first of all, I think every part of Bleach was in there, which I thought was nuts, but part 3 especially, I was like preemptively annoyed, because part 3 is like when the manga starts to go to shit, because this is all secondhand information that I don't know like what's reality. It's a little bit, so often with these big mangas you have people being like, well, I read in an interview once that Oda, Kishimoto, Kubo, Toriyama said this, and then it's like, hey, you got a source on that? And it's like, no, fuck you, just believe me, I probably made it up. And it's like, okay. But the thing that I always see circulating is that at the end of Bleach, Kubo knew it was like it was getting canceled, so they were like, wrap it up, buddy. And simultaneously he had pressure of canceling the manga and ending it while also like being super sick, which is like a classic fucking mangaka thing. And so then he just like, there are a lot of things that he wanted to include he didn't include, but now retroactively, since it's the future, they can put into the anime. So then we get to the anime and I watch it, and this is the most like substantial additions, I believe. I don't fully remember. Like part 1, I don't know if they added anything. I might be wrong on that. But part 2, I know that they added a whole ass like battle between the main bad guys and a group that's supposed to be hot shit, but in the manga they get like 2 tapped off screen and then disappear from the fucking series. So it was like a meme in the community of like, these were supposed to be like the strongest of the strong, and they just get their asses beat and they don't fucking matter. So like, well, why even introduce them? But then in part 2 they had a fight to be like, here's why they're epic, and even episode 1 of part 3 is just rehashing like the end of that fight. Although from what I remember is that episode 1 also, they, to add on to the add-on, is they're like, this Uryu guy, he's pretty important, here's Uryu doing shit. So the final season in the manga, the final arc implies that Uryu is going to be like big hot shit, and then in the manga he does nothing. The most important thing he does at the end of the manga is off screen. But the anime part 3, they added in hella just a fuck ton of Uryu scenes and Uryu fights, and it's great. And it's like, oh shit, this is awesome. They're delivering on like adding stuff that Kubo wanted. So it's becoming the definitive way to like experience Bleach. Of, you could read the whole manga up to the final arc and then just start watching the anime. It's interesting because more often than not I'm like, just read the manga. Like, sometimes like, the shows have cool animation, but the manga is like the thing. Oh, my score, I gave this one a 9 because it was so enjoyable. It's basically, excuse me, scratch my ear, it was just like cool fights the whole time, which is great for my gorilla brain. It was like just me clapping and pointing at the screen like, they're adding awesome stuff and it's cool, and I'm a little boy, I'm a little baby. It did have my least favorite fight, which was there's a character called Mayuri Kurotsuji who, his whole gimmick is that he's like a mad scientist, but they do it in a tropey anime way that I hate, where it's like, oh, this character is a genius, so they know everything about everything and can do anything. There's a point where his fight is up against like a gigantic sentient hand, and that hand like unleashes its nerves inside his body and destroys his arm, and then it shows him like spam jab his arm with his right arm with his left arm, and then he's like, "It's a good thing I very quickly resutured all my nerves inside my arm so that I can keep using it in this fight against you. Teleports behind you, nothing personal, kid." And I was like that's the most eye roll worthy fucking bullshit of like, huh, I bet you thought you had me, but little did you know that I've got you in a checkmate. I really don't like the character. Whenever I reread or watch Bleach, I get to his scenes and I'm like just rolling my fucking eyes because I'm like, it's just kind of like an excuse for the author to do whatever they want. Of like, well, this character's a genius, so he does what I say. Fuck you. Towards the end, there was an episode there. I wasn't quite sure if it was an addition or not. I think it was. I think in the manga, it was literally just a few scenes of like a character called Hashvalth and Baz B backstory, where like they were little boys. Their village gets decimated by Energy Hitler. And then they join Energy Hitler, and then Hashvalth becomes like Energy Hitler's right-hand man, while Basby is left in the fucking dust. They added some like crucial, like I believe in the manga it was like 2 panels of like they used to be friends as kids, and this was like a whole episode of like them meeting and training together and like plotting, and it's revealed that Jugo Hashvalth is like a victim of SA from his evil uncle. So in my opinion, it was a little bit of a poor excuse, because it's like Hashvalth and Basby are like, we need to team up to beat Energy Hitler, and then Energy Hitler like destroys their villages, which in turn kills Hashvalth's evil SA-ing uncle. So then Hashvalth is like, I pledge allegiance, which like, okay, sure, your personal like abuser is gone, that's great. You know Energy Hitler wants to like blow up all of space and time, right? Like he's not a good guy, and Basby is right, you should kill him. But no, okay, he killed your uncle, so I guess glory and loyalty to Los Hermanos. Let's move on. The next thing I watched, there was a big gap. So like, you know, I had the whole month, but it was really like I watched Red Ranger and Bleach I think in the same week, and then I went on a fucking dry spell because the next few things I watched in the last like week, I watched Batman Ninja, a movie where Batman and a gaggle of his friends and enemies, they're fighting Gorilla Grodd, and Gorilla Grodd created a machine and it blows up and it sends them back to feudal Japan. And then Batman they're all sent back at different points in time, like the same time period, but it's like he gets there, he meets Catwoman, and she's like, I've been here for 2 fucking months, and then he slowly meets the rest of his friends or whatever, and then he's like, what? The Joker is an evil samurai? Holy smokes. And then I expected this movie to be dog shit because it's called Batman Ninja, and it's a movie where Batman air quotes becomes a ninja. That's not really what happens, but like that's what it says on the tin. And surprisingly, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because it's a lot of fun. The whole time I was just like in awe, because the dumbest part was maybe like poor CG, but that's all in a blanket of like just fun fight scenes, good voice acting. Especially I was impressed by the guy that did the Joker, because it's easy to like be a cringe fucking Joker. And I was like, who voices the Joker? It's Tony Hale, who, when I looked, this is one of the only animes he's done. He is mostly in like American cartoons, but he not most recently, but maybe most famously was the purple fear emotion. I think that's what that one is in Inside Out 2. But I have to imagine the Joker and Fear are different voices. I hope so. But the whole time I'm just like, oh, cool. The worst looking part of the movie, other like the weird CG, but at the end, there's a scene where Batman and his crew have assembled to fight the bad guys. It's like, oh, it's not just the Joker. Harley Quinn is here. Deadshot is here. Not Deadshot, Deathstroke, same thing. Poison Ivy, the Penguin, and Two-Face. They've all become feudal lords of their respective countries, or segments of Japan, I should say. And then at the end, they all team up like a evil, like gaggle of supervillains, and they like all have like giant robots slash like the castles they're in, and they're like morph, and they all morph together into a gigantic Joker robot, and I was just like, fuck yes, that's awesome. And then to be honest, I wasn't fully paying attention at this part, other than being like, cool robot. But for whatever reason, a bad part of the movie was that Batman meets up with his crew of Robin, Red Robin, whoever the fuck that is, Red Hood, and Nightwing, and Alfred, and they are like, we've been kicking it with these ninjas, and the ninjas are like, we've had a legend of the Bat Warrior, and then they like show scrolls of like someone wearing a Batman mask, and it's like, we've been waiting for you, and I'm like, okay, that's fucking stupid, but whatever. But I think it was something to do with that, where to fight the gigantic Joker robot, they conjure a gigantic like spiritual Batman that's like grayscale, and the big Batman looked dog shit. I don't know what it was about, like they lost all the animation budget when they had to make Big Batman, especially next to Big Joker. But then the two big things fight, and that's cool. I also forgot to mention, as I was saying it, I skipped my favorite part of the whole fucking movie. There's a point in the movie where they were fighting Joker early on, and then Joker is in a big explosion with Harley Quinn, and then it shows like Red Hood's only scene in the movie where he has found Joker and Harley Quinn, but they're no longer supervillains because the blast made them lose all their memories, and they're just like radish farmers or something like that. But it's all shot. The whole movie is like ugly CG, except for this segment, which is shot and animated in a like old Japanese wall art style, and it's fucking beautiful. Holy shit. I do feel like the fucking cringe lord of the century to be like, the best part of the movie is the scene with the Joker where he pretends to have no memories until he 5D chests his Batman and plants a plant that gives him his memories back, and then he's like holding Harley Quinn, and he is like doing the Joker laugh, and as he moves his hand, his non-makeup face now has the red lips again. Oh, and it's cool. But I do, admittedly, am channeling fucking 4chan into my body to be like, the Joker was cool. Moving on, I watched Licorice Recoil, Friends Are Thieves of Time, which was like a very short anime. It's 6 episodes long, but what I mean by short, not just that's half the length of like your average anime, but it's like every episode, I think the longest episode is like 7 minutes long. Every episode is like 2, 3, 4, 7 minutes long, like that. And it's just little snippets of the girls from Licorice Recoil, which, to give some short backstory, is kind of like anime high school girl John Wick. And I don't remember what I gave the original show. I think like a 7 or 8. It was pretty good. But I remember when it came out, like, people like loved that shit. And I was like, it's good. It's not like perfect. But, And I remember when they announced this thing, people lost their minds. They were like, more Licorice Recoil. And they were fun, but it reminds me of, to go back to Bleach, at the end of every original Bleach, there would be like a cut to a segment where it would just be like the characters dicking around, having fun, telling jokes or whatever. And that's basically every episode of this. Like, I don't really have that much to say about it, because it's just like, I liked the episode where they, for 2 minutes, thought ghosts were real, or the episode where they needed to make new desserts, and she makes a peach sundae that looks like a big juicy ass. Ha 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 ha. I gave this one a 6 out of 10 because it's like totally serviceable. Like, I could have given it a 5 or a 6 because like it's fine. It took me half an hour to watch it, like on my lunch break at work or something like that. I don't think this is something I would ever watch again. Like, maybe one day I'll be like, ooh, I kind of want to rewatch Licorice Recoil, and I'll rewatch the main show. But this, why would I, like, I'm just gonna, like, in a month I'll probably forget I ever watched this, to be honest. And that's fine, because who cares? But, I don't know. I'm just asking, why was this made? And I guess the answer is, like, to sell more Licorice Recoil merch, because people want it. Like I said, people, actual hardcore fans were like, let's go! Slam dunking their cats, like, we need more Licorice Recoil. And then I fucking just, holy shit, my mind just went blank. To be fair, it is 3 in the morning and I'm doing this instead of going to sleep like I was supposed to. I looked down at the list and I was like, oh, what do I say? I browned out. The next thing I watched, moving on from Licorice Recoil, Friends Are the Thieves of Time, I watched Star Wars Visions, which was from a few years ago. Can I click it and see? 2021. Click. It was, I remember it was announced and it was like, it's a Star Wars anime and every episode is done by a different Japanese animation studio. And I was like, I don't give a single fuck about Star Wars. I hope they take Chewbacca out back and shoot him like Old Yeller. However, I like anime. Hopefully I'll see some cool lightsaber shit. And it was mostly short. So it's 9 episodes long. A lot of the episodes, like the first 2 episodes I watched were like 10 episodes. Fuck. The first 2 episodes I watched were 10 episodes long. Good one, dipshit. The first 2 episodes were 10 minutes long. Some episodes were 20 minutes, some episodes were 15, so on and so forth. I'm not going to break down every episode because, to be quite frank, I don't remember every episode, but I get my score. I give it an 8 out of 10 because at the end of the day, only 2 of the episodes that I watched here I thought were bad. So episode 1, it's shot like an old school black and white samurai movie, and it's like there's this dude, he goes to a village, the village is getting harassed. There's this bitch with, she has a lightsaber, she sticks it in a hole, and that makes it like expand into an umbrella of like 5 or 6 more lightsabers, and it's like pretty cool watching her like get into fights and like whip around this like multi-pronged lightsaber. And then homeboy shows up, he pulls out one lightsaber, they duel, he wins. I didn't fully, I don't know Star Wars lore, so I don't understand the implication of he has a red lightsaber, so the village people are like, you helped us, but you're a bad guy, goodbye. And then it ends, and they don't, because it's only 10 episodes, because it's only 10 minutes long, they don't have enough meat on the bones to like explain shit. But they also, like, it's Star Wars, so they're like, you know Star Wars, right? Why would you watch this if you didn't? Concluded. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Episode 2 is about this little orphan dude, and then Jabba the Hutt's something is like, hey, little bro, like, you're too chill to fucking eviscerate. Instead of us killing you, how about you become my orphan son, and we make a band. And then they make a band, and then it's just kind of like them dicking around, not really doing anything. And then Jabba the Hutt's homeboy gets kidnapped, and they're going to execute him. And then the bandmates are like, we made a deal with Jabba the Hutt to let us play one last show before they shoot you in the head. And he's like, that was a bad idea. And then they play a pop punk song, I think originally for the show. I didn't look it up, but I also didn't recognize it, so like surely it's new. It was actually an okay song too. I remember, because episode 1, like, describing it, I'm like, that sounds so awesome, but I thought it was just okay. Like, it was cool for the lightsaber fight, but overall fart noise. And then episode 2 is just about this kid fucking playing a pop punk song, and I'm like, yeah, I wish the whole show was this. Episode 3, I think, was one of the ones I didn't like, where this was by Studio Trigger, which when this show was announced, everyone was like, they got Studio Trigger, this is about to be a banger, because Trigger is known for making like good anime. Now this episode was called, I think it's literally called Twins, and it's about like, there's a good boy twin and there's an evil girl twin, and then they lightsaber fight, which that part was cool. What wasn't cool is that throughout the episode there were several Leonardo DiCaprio point at the screen memes of like, they need to get rid of a kyber crystal, and the main evil girl goes, we need to get this kyber crystal sent to a galaxy far, far away. And then she winks at the camera. There's a few more things, but like the most egregious one, other than that, was like, while they're battling, the main guy is talking to his own R2-D2 droid, and the robot beeps and boops, and he's like, you're right, R2-D2, there is no try, there is only do, which is like a line from the Star Wars movies. And I like fucking paused the episode and I put my head in my hands, and I'm like, oh my fucking god. And then he looks at the camera and he goes, what are we, some kind of Star Wars Visions? Wink, kiss. Thankfully that episode ended, although I was talking to Andrew about this, and that they did Star Wars Visions, then they did season 2, which wasn't anime. Now they're doing season 3, which is anime, and a bunch of the episodes are sequels to the season 1 episodes. And I'm pretty sure they're doing a sequel to this one, which hopefully they learned their lesson and it won't just be like Twins Part 2. Holy shit, we need Han Solo in here, right, Chewbacca? After that, I did watch it super late at night, so it became a little more forgettable to me. There's only, like I said, there was 9 episodes. What was after Twins? The only episodes I really remember, I remember 3 more, so that's 6, which means I'm forgetting 3. Well, I need to go into my mind palace. I know there's one that's like a village is gonna sacrifice a girl, and then another girl shows up and has a lightsaber, and she's like, "Stop!" and then she stops them. I'd like that. I think that was one of the shorter ones. I hope, because if it was one of the longer ones, it's unbelievably forgettable. The best episode was, I think it was by IG Production, and which made the people that made Attack on Titan. And there's this father and his daughter, and he's like making new kyber crystals or making lightsabers or whatever the fuck, and he needs it delivered, and then he's found out and killed, and he's like, "My last wish, daughter, you have to get the lightsabers of these people." And there's a meeting of like a bunch of Jedi, and they're like, "Where is this dickhead? He's been keeping us waiting." Then the daughter shows up, and she delivers the lightsabers, and she's like, "You guys will help me rescue my dad, right?" And they all grab the lightsabers, and oh my god, all but one of them are evil. And then an old guy that's her friend pops out of a robot, and he busts out his green lightsaber, starts fighting them. One of the people at the meeting was a good guy, so his lightsaber's blue, he's fighting them. She busts out a lightsaber too. Her lightsaber has no color. As she's fighting, she like strengthens in her resolve to want to save her father, beat these people so she can go save her father. And the lightsaber like surges with green, and then like they win the day. And then it ends, and I'm like, fuck. I would watch a whole show about like this one because it was really cool, but I didn't. Like I said, I don't know. I hope this is one of the ones they do a sequel to in season 3. Maybe they go save her dad. Then the only other episode I really remember, well, I remember 2. The last episode was bad because it was told non-chronologically, so it was a little too much for my tiny little brain to understand. But it's like, there's a guy, he serves a princess. They need to help some people across the land. They do that. She dies, and he's like, "Oh man, how am I going to get my princess back?" And then the evil lady that's been chasing them all episode is like, "We can res her with our evil wizard powers. Become an evil wizard." And he's like, "Okay." He reses her, and the princess is like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I'm an evil wizard now." And then he leaves, and the episode ends. And I was like, what a fucking wet fart of an ending. Holy shit. The episode before that, I think it was just one before, was one of the better ones, where there's a father who's like an old, like, swordsman guy. His daughter, who's like, we need to side with the bad guys because otherwise our family is fucked. And then the adopted daughter, who was like an anthropomorphic animal furry looking character who I want more than anything to be with. I mean, the bad guys get the biological daughter to join them, and then she's like, "Fuck this planet, we'll raise it, let's kill everyone." And the dad is like, "No, I'll stop you." So what's he do? He gets his lightsaber, and then goes to fight the biological daughter, and then she claps his cheeks, not literally, because that would be crazy. This was the best episode ever at incest. He loses, his eye gets like slashed, and then the furry daughter grabs the lightsaber and like battles the evil sister away. And it kind of ends on a wet fart also, where the evil sister just leaves, and then it like shows a soundbite of the furry daughter being like, "We're a real family," and then the episode ends. So I assume that one's getting a sequel too. But that was one of the better episodes because it had a furry in it. The last thing on my list is Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza League, which I watched literally like 2 days ago. I watched as I was going to film the Anime Awards reaction. And it's the sequel to Batman Ninja. It's kind of just called Batman Ninja because it's set in the same universe and right after. So it's like Batman and gang get sent back to their proper time, but whoa, above Gotham is another dimension where an evil version of the Justice League are, but they're all Yakuza members. So then Batman and the Robin crew all go up in the sky which transports them to the other dimension where the Yakuza Justice League is. And did I say I gave Star Wars Visions an 8? I think I did. But just like real quick to fucking hammer that home, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Not out of 100. But Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza League. It's like the main villain is Ra's al Ghul, who's like the grandfather of Robin. And he's like kidnaps Robin, and he's like, you're gonna be the fucking king of this evil Yakuza Justice League world. And Robin's like, hey, that sucks dick, I don't want to do that. And he's like, nah, you'll love it. Eat this sushi. And then there's a scene where they eat sushi, and Ra's al Ghul flames Robin for not liking anything but California rolls. Ha ha ha, I guess. I don't, sushi's gross, fuck you. So then Batman rolls up, he becomes friends with the Yakuza Wonder Woman, who's the only good guy. And then they like all individually fight their people. Also, Harley Quinn is there for some reason, and she's a good guy now. The Joker is in one scene and then leaves because they had to shoehorn in the Joker, I guess. Everyone on the voice cast was different also, which some people that was for the better, some people was for the worse. It was a little like the guy who did Batman wasn't worse, but it was noticeable that it was someone else. Maybe you wouldn't notice it if you watched Batman Ninja back in like 2018 when it came out. Because Batman Ninja Yakuza League came out this year, or the end of 2024, I don't remember. But, like, you know, what is that, like 4 or 5 years? So, you would have time to forget what they all sounded like. But the new Joker was not as good as the Joker I was just glazing. I don't really have a whole lot to say about this one, because I gave it a 7 out of 10, because it was still fun. Unfortunately, my favorite scene of the movie, well, actually, when the movie starts, this is actually a cool thing. The movie starts and they all look like Batman Ninja 1, where it's like the 3D bad CG. And then they go to the Yakuza League's world and everything is more 2D-ish. It's still clearly like made in the 3D, but it like has more of a 2D anime style to it. And I really liked that. But then there's a point where the Bat family goes back to Gotham and is like, how are we going to beat the evil Yakuza Justice League? And Alfred's like, I have just the plan. And then he literally plays them a YouTube video he made, animated like old original Mobile Suit Gundam, of them like combining their like bat airplanes together into a giant robot, and he's like, and that's what you should do. And they all walk away like, that was fucking cringe, Alfred. And he's like, you guys didn't like that? I liked it, Alfred. I liked it. But then they go back to the Yakuza Justice League world and they beat up the Yakuza Justice League. Not much, like, I don't really have that much to say, because it's like, it wasn't as goofy fun as the first one. It was still alright. And if they make a Batman Ninja 3, I'll definitely watch that. But I would rewatch Batman Ninja. I'm probably not going to rewatch Batman Ninja Yakuza League anytime soon, because it's so, like, whatever. But yeah, that's the end of the list. I was maybe thinking about, this is not coming out until next week, because I'm filming it. Yesterday I did the Anime React, holy shit, the Anime Awards reaction, and then tonight I'm doing this, but tonight I'm going to upload the Anime Reacts for Monday, and then I'm going to hold on this one until next week. So I was like, if I'm going to hold on to it for a week, maybe I just won't record it till next week and include the first week of June in what I watch, because I've done that before. I did that, I think, in March and maybe another month. I think I've done it twice, but then I kind of thought, well, you know, something came up. I have plans to go meet up with my gay boyfriend Andrew. So what am I going to film a video with him in the room? It'd just be us kissing. That's the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Tune in next time. Bye-bye.